And also joining us at the desk at this time, as they do every week, it's our party scoopers. Jeff Flake and Craig Robinson are here, and lots of things going on politically. And Jeff, we'll start with you. Democratic side, what's the buzz?
Well, we've got this new poll out that shows Hillary Clinton up 10 over Donald Trump nationally, which is sort of different. I mean, Trump has been surprisingly leading every single poll that we've basically seen for the last 2 months or so. And so this is the first time, and this is actually a pattern that's been forming over the last 4 or 5 weeks, that Hillary's numbers have steadily been increasing against Sanders and now in the general election. So it seems like things are sort of coming together on the Clinton campaign.
Except if you want to look at the same poll at the head-to-heads between Vice President Biden and the Republican field, which he just crushes them all. Up big time with Hillary, she's up 2 or 3 points. With Biden, it's not even a contest right now. So it'll be interesting to see if that's another carrot to dangle in front of him to get him to jump into this race.
Because he still has not jumped in the race yet, even though what it was announced yesterday that at the next debate, he's more than welcome to attend.
Yeah, so they're going to leave the door open until
as long as he's on stage.
The last possible minute.
Yeah, but he has to declare the day of. That was the caveat.
Mm-hmm.
Is that he has to declare his candidacy the day of. So that's really cutting it close, isn't it?
It is, but the truth is, I don't think participating in that debate is a go or no go time for him. I mean, it's a debate. There'll be a few million people that watch it, but it's not the end of the world. He's Vice President of the United States. He has universal name identification. He's not pressed for time. And so, the debate is obviously an opportunity. It would be a big news generator if he were to get in, but I don't think that's like the drop dead time for him. What really matters in these races is ballot access in all these different states. It's hard to get on the ballot. Like, it's literally hard to get on the ballot in places like Pennsylvania and New York. I've actually run ballot access campaigns where it's not like Iowa, where you just put your name in and submit maybe 500 signatures. In those places,
you don't even have to do that if you're a Republican.
Yeah, in those places you have to, your delegates actually sit on the ballot and get elected on the ballot. So each delegate in a place like Pennsylvania or New York has to go collect 125 signatures. It's just a difficult process.
Yeah.
That's the real.
And
that's
every
the real
state
time.
is different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and some are really difficult and some are really easy, and it's just all over the map.
So how much of a lead time does he need in order to get all this accomplished then?
I think, certainly by November, you sort of have to be in motion in order to just logistically get access to the ballot in all these places.
What are the Vegas odds of him even getting in?
I don't think anybody knows.
Hard in this thing, and
right.
I think it's a jump ball. I really think it's probably a 50-50 proposition.
Okay, now what about visitors to this fine state of ours from our Republican?
Well, Governor Christie is in the state today. I saw him last night at a town hall, which he did very well at. And this morning, he's picking up the endorsement of these 6 individuals that flew out to try to encourage him into the race back in 2012. So
before Bridgegate.
Yeah, before Bridgegate. So they were, they thought Christie would have been a great presidential candidate 4 years ago. He didn't run. Then when he got into the race in 2016, they weren't initially with him. But now I think when you look at the craziness that's been this Republican presidential race, you have like establishment people like these folks looking around, and the decision isn't clear. And so when you see a guy who in Iowa is his polling average is 13th, in New Hampshire it's 9th, and nationally it's 8th, you have these big establishment somewhat power brokers willing to go with the 13th place guy. Because in the debates, to give him credit, he's been really good. Mm-hmm. And on the stump, he's really good. But, I mean, it is a long shot. And establishment backers like, Bruce Rastetter and Gary Kirk don't typically go for the Hail Mary campaign. But that's what they're doing this morning, so it's going to be interesting to watch.
Think that'll help him or not?
No.
Okay, that's the answer we're looking for.
I'll be
I'm
really
looking for an
honest. I mean,
answer.
look, if Chris Christie was running for governor of Iowa, that's what these guys can do. They can raise lots of money for a gubernatorial campaign, and their connections, help them do that.
In-state connections.
Being impactful in a caucus primary, or in a caucus race, is a different ball game. You're talking about a much smaller turnout, and in fact, I think a lot of those people will look at it, your typical caucus goer, and will say, well, that just confirms to me that Chris Christie is the establishment candidate. Which, by the way, if you look at any polls, that's the one thing you don't want to be in this election cycle.
Well, so and the really interesting thing about this endorsement, and you were sort of going down this road, it shows that the Jeb Bush campaign is in a free fall. I mean, there have been stories about donors are panicking. We've already seen between Scott Walker and Rick Perry, guys drop out of the race with millions of dollars in a super PAC. Bush might be the first guy with more than $50 million in a super PAC that's going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
It's stunning that Look, these guys should be Bush people.
And if they're not Bush people, you'd think they'd be Rubio people. Mm-hmm. But again, the kind of approach that the Rubio campaign has made in Iowa, which is kind of tepid to say the least, like, well, we don't know if we're going to win here or not, or what we're going to do, or even John Kasich, hasn't put a lot of effort in Iowa. Caucuses are relationship games, and so Chris Christie has the relationships, has built them over 6 years, and these guys, that I think desperately need, and you would think these people would be more inclined to support them. They haven't done the legwork to pull something like this off. So it is an indictment, I think, on Bush, on Rubio, and on even John Kasich's campaign.
But we still have a lot of candidates in the race. Who's going to benefit once some more people start peeling off? I would think that they probably would not favor Trump, because those people typically are on that. Isn't it more established candidate like Bush going to be benefiting from some of these people that are going to be falling off the wayside?
No, I think the people who benefit, especially in Iowa, is you really have a little campaign within a campaign, where you have the who's going to be the social conservative that emerges. I think a lot of people think that it's a guy like Ted Cruz, but there's kind of a disconnect, I think, with Cruz and Iowa caucus goers. There's no personal thing that you can really sink your teeth in and buy in, and so I look for the battles between Huckabee and Cruz for that, and so it'll be interesting to see who moves forward with that. And it's a real jump ball. I mean, I think Rubio has kind of an advantage in this race for the establishment vote, but it's really a jump ball because it's all splintered, and there's not that many. You're only talking about a third of the Republicans who caucus that fall into that real establishment vote. And so if you're cutting that up 3 or 4 different ways on caucus night, makes it easier for these social conservatives, or even one of those outsiders like Donald Trump, Carly Fiorina, Ben Carson, to be successful.
Yeah, because we've seen how both parties, they do caucus, and they caucus in 2 totally different styles.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to watch and see how that things shake out. Mm-hmm. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. That worked out.
Great.